everybody. How you doing out there? It is if you're listening to it new, I never know what day people listen to these shows. I'm always confused, Dustin. Do you listen to something when you have a thing, whatever it is, whether it's a television show, a new series that you're watching, one of your weird crypto podcasts that you're always subscribing and down to, when you have something with new content, Dustin Kava, welcome to Because Cannabis Podcast. When you have something with new content, are you a get it when it's hot kind of person? Get it right now, watch it the moment it debuts? Or can you catch up to it whenever you're feeling fancy and fine and ready to listen or watch or observe?
I think there's a place for certain types of content. I'm not going to get my breaking news 4 months later and expect it to still be so breaking. But I will say that, that's the cool thing about content is it lives on forever. And something you say today can be brought up 4 years from now and provide relevance still to a whole manner of things. So it's really dependent. Crypto is definitely not something I catch 4 months later, though.
Well, I want you. That's a terrible answer for someone who puts out content every single week, Dustin Kava. We put out brand new shows every single week, every single Wednesday at 4:20 p.m. on YouTube. And you, dear listener, I hope you have hit subscribe so you can catch those brand new shows. Don't listen to Dustin Kava. That is terrible advice. Terrible advice. We create content for a living, Dustin. Subscribe us on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, all those good places. You know how it goes, Dustin. Welcome, everyone, to the Because Cannabis Podcast every single Wednesday. Brand new episodes, 4:20 p.m. on YouTube, YouTube at Because Cannabis. You could also follow us socially on Instagram and Twitter at MeetWM, on Facebook at MeetWayward. Thank you, Dustin, for joining us. I love my time to get and talk with you. You know what else I love? You know what else I've been enjoying? I've been enjoying the Plant Save My Life podcast, right? Have you listened to some new episodes of the Plant Save My podcast? Plant Save My Life podcast?
Raven is something else, man. Every time I hear a conversation with him, I feel dumb. He's so smart and he's so expansive and I feel like he can just talk to anybody about anything and really hold his own. So his show is something else. It really is.
Well, I am excited that the Plant Save My Life podcast is about to get a little bit closer to home. You listening right now, you can uncover the healing potential of plant medicine with the Plant Save My Life podcast. Host Raven Areola, a scientific advisor, consultant, and educator in the medicinal cannabis space, the founder of Ethino Wellness, for inspiring conversations for an exploration of plants and fungi that we owe our health and happiness to. Plant Save My Life Season 2 is about to debut. And the place that you're going to find it, breaking news, speaking of, right here on Wayward Media. Dustin, I'm very happy that the Plant Save My Life podcast is about to be joining the Wayward Media, wayward.media family. Raven will be bringing his plant-based medicine podcast to our show. He's a brilliant person with brilliant conversations, deep conversations, not just about cannabis, psilocybin, not even psychoactive plants or plants that have any sort of healing and medicinal property. The Plant Save My Life podcast is going to be joining the Wayward Media family very soon, and I'm very excited. So be on the lookout. Season 2, once again, at MeetWM, at MeetWayward on Facebook, or wayward.media on the interwebs, and that's where you can find out more about the Plants Save My Life podcast. Dustin, I'm very excited for our guest today. Because they work in a world, right? They deal in a world that we've talked about a lot, but it's always nice when you have new freshness, when you have youngness, when you have just cool vibes and energy. And I can tell right now, we're going to talk in just a minute with our guest from Fifth House Farms that we're going to have that. And you may notice today, Dustin, we don't always talk about the names in our show, but we try to tailor them. Usually alliteration, usually with the same letter, to something that our guests do well. And our guest is one of the best creators of high-end terpene-filled cartridges in the state of Washington right now. And they're very good at vermicast, which to me sounds like something that I'm going to watch on television, right? I got to vermicast that later today. Did you catch the Mariners game? It got vermicasted on the sports channel. That's not what vermicast is. It sounds cool. It sounds scientific. It sounds very smart. In fact, vermicast is a cool way of saying worm castings, which is a cooler way of saying organic fertilizer made by earthworms, which in the end, some people even call it black gold, Dustin. You know what it is? It's poop. Yeah. It's freaking poop. there's a lot of things, right, that are fancy words for something. When you have to go poop, Dustin, what do you call it?
I have a house full of kids, man, and my son's mom and my girlfriend both work in the medical industry, and so I hear BM all the time.
Oh, you do a BM.
It is not, my household is a BM household.
You take a BM in the water closet, and we're going back to the olden days of the United Kingdom. Is that what's happening here? I'll take a BM in the water closet today, sir. Do you mind a splishy splash? You don't do like something cool, like I got to dump the kids off at the pool. You don't drop any of those cool euphemisms. Everyone does it, but it's still a difficult thing to say and talk about for some reason sometimes. So what better person than to talk about this than Carlondo Mitchell? First question, Carlondo, right off the bat. You're typing a text to someone and you need to say or emphasize the point that obviously has to have shit or poop. You got to say it. You're mad or you're happy. Do you type the word out? Or do you use the poop emoji when typing in text? Do you write the word shit or poop, or do you use the poop emoji when texting someone that particular word?
Typically, I'm going to tell people, hey, I'm in the office handling business right now. A lot of people won't call. People don't even like to text me these days. They're like, ring, ring. I'm like,
oh, we're bringing it back to the phone.
It's like, because, you're not even supposed to be touching the phone, but sometimes my phone will have auto answer. You guys have that,
Yes.
Yeah, so it'll be like, oh, hey, I'm handling business right now. All right, call me back.
Hold on. You are the first person.
You're not trying to touch the phone, right? You're not trying to touch the phone. It's like, call me back. Hey, get off the phone, man.
Tell Gary to get off the phone right now. Carlondo Mitchell coming in hot. Fifth House Farms. You can find them right now online from the state of Washington. You can find them.
fifthhousefarm.com.
Thank you, Dustin. As I was trying to find the website, fifthhousefarms.com. Carlondo, thank you for joining us today. I have another question for both of you, both Dustin and Carlondo. I was watching the movie Ghosted. It's like Chris Evans playing against type. He's like the wimpy farmer, ironically enough. And he gets caught on a blind date. He gets ghosted. Turns out she's super spy. Action and hilarity ensue. But there's this ongoing joke throughout this movie that, particularly when dealing with, say, being ghosted and such, that emojis don't count as like a text. If you're bothering someone or giving them shit or giving them grief, Dustin first and then Carlondo, do emojis count as an actual text, or is it its own subcategory?
Oh, shit. If I'm talking to my kids, it definitely counts. If I'm talking to the missus, absolutely not. The emojis better be hearts and a lot of them, man.
Carlondo, emojis count, yes or no?
Oh, they count, bro. It's fair game, man. Wifey will say, hey, I need you to go to the store. I need you to get this. I'm going to give her a check. I'm going to give her a thumbs up. And she knows, I know I got to go get that done.
I gotta still add 5 hearts of all different colors in there.
I'll do a little circle with the kiss and mwah, a little circle. I give her a thumbs up and a mwah.
Is there a difference to you? It's so emoji comp. I promise we're gonna talk cannabis, we're gonna talk worm castings, we're gonna talk cultivation, we're gonna talk the best vape cartridges in the state of Washington at Fifth House Farms. But is there a difference between the thumbs up reply and hitting the little thumbs up reply as the actual text message? Like the actual thumbs up emoji versus acknowledging the text with the thumbs up reply. Is there a distinct difference? And is one preferred over the other when letting someone know that, yes, I've heard what you say? See, deep shit here. Deep thought.
Who's first? Are you asking me or Dustin?
Carlondo, you first.
Okay,
thumbs up emoji or reply thumbs up?
Both ways, bro. Listen. When you get the thumbs up reply from someone, it's like, cool, good job. It can be good.
Okay.
Unless you're saying something they don't want to hear, because that thumbs up could very well not be a thumbs up, right? Just like that like. When you send someone something that, whether it's heartfelt, whether it's just informative, whether it's anything, and they just give you a like. Oh, I don't know, man.
Yeah. That's when I'm setting the phone down. Like, I can't respond right now, but I'm really
lightweight shade right there, fellas.
Lightweight. Carlondo Mitchell, easy for me to say. Carlondo Mitchell, Fifth House Farms. You can find him at Fifth House Farms. That's 5thhousefarms.com. So let's just start right there. You've talked a lot, and we've read a little bit of your backstory, Carlondo. You've had this vision when you started back in the cannabis industry as a medicinal patient. You've talked about it in past interviews where you're on the farm, you're working there, you're trimming. You kind of get to the sales part, and that's kind of where I want to start with you. Because he had this very interesting quote that comes from someone in Washington, which has had legal sales since 2012, right? So they're an early adopter, 2014 legal sales, 2012 when the initiative passed. So they're one of the earliest adopters of adult use along with Colorado. The business is going well. Lots of people are making money, especially in the early days of Washington cannabis. But
Yeah.
you found yourself as a seller having some problems. You found yourself running into people charging you different prices than maybe your competitors in doing things. And so I think because part of your backstory is being someone who is highly underrepresented in our industry and being someone now who's been successful with being an African-American, being a person of color and doing these things. How has it been like that experience of the early days of cannabis, being a patient, being part of it, but realizing there wasn't really a spot for you in this industry?
Wow. I'm gonna start with the heavy loaded.
We're gonna start heavy. We'll go.
Well,
First of all, we started with poop emojis and thumbs up emojis. So let's be real. We took like 5 minutes to get through it, and then we just go straight for the freaking dagger, Carlondo. All the tears right away.
Jugular. Well, I would say this. I would say entering the medical market as a patient was an experience in itself, right?
Yeah.
Washington for us, when we first, had our medical was you could have up to 1.5 pounds of wet material, right? So the argument of dry versus wet is a whole different argument, right? So, you started to see a lane where people in medical could kind of just navigate and learn. And then Washington kind of adopted that policy that like a lot of other states have in medical, where it's like donation, and that whole donation base where it's like, I come over, I sell you a lighter for a $40 donation and just happen to give you an eighth. So it's like
I bought a thing of lasagna for a quarter once.
Yeah.
In Washington, DC. So yeah.
Come on, bro. It's like you going on Craigslist, typing in MMJ, and then you see someone talking about, hey, asking for a humble donation of $40 for my care, and I'll happily give you a gift of 3.5. And you're just watching this industry take shape. And in the beginning, it was really just a culture, I would say, of like, stoners, hippies, gangsters. It started, that was the market. And as it's grown, you see this huge push of business. You're seeing it. I mean, I've never seen an industry grow so fast. You look at, I always tell everyone like a cannabis year is like, a cannabis year is like 2-3 months, right?
Yeah.
Compared to every other industry, it's like things happen so quick. So for me, coming from medical and coming into a farm, I understood very quickly, like, okay, there's a lot of areas in this market, wherever everyone else is focusing, I'm going to go over here. Because I learned that, like you said, there wasn't really a seat at the table. A lot of the guys who were in medical already had their relationships. A lot of people were 20, 30 years older than me, and not too many young people my age were willing to put in the work to just go chase what this is, because everyone's talking about college, right? I was like, go to college. My dad said I'm over here like hopping on the road to go talk to a random hippie to learn about this or that. And for me, it was awesome because when you really focus on an industry, you'll find something. It was so new. I mean, we're talking about an 8-year-old industry, right? It's legalized in 2014. It's 2023, but the first cannabis dispensary in Washington came in 2015. So you realize in 8 years, we've grown so much. It's mind blowing.
Yeah. And I come from the smoke shop end of things, developing pipes and stuff with the industry and glass and stuff like that. And it's been 16 years or something that I've been within the industry. And what's crazy to me is it was the same old same for my first, say, 10 years. And then all of a sudden there's this massive shift and there's innovation every 3 weeks. And that's, you're absolutely right about a cannabis calendar year. It's so real. It's really unbelievable that shift. How do you, when you said, like, I see everybody going in this direction and I chose to go in this other place. I chose to look over here. What would you consider that with Fifth House? What would you consider that moment where you said, you know what, we're going to do this differently. And this is exactly what we're going to do.
Wow. Great question. It was a culmination. Because prior to Fifth House Farms, I owned other cannabis licenses. I owned another cannabis license.
Oh, okay.
So it was really going through trial and error, finding, going from coming into an industry, having partners, and then finding out, you need to just do all the work yourself.
Yeah. So was that your first company before? Was that like, that other cannabis license, was that your first business that you were.
Yeah, that was my first.
Yeah. So you're learning about partnerships. You're learning
Yeah.
about what the fuck the books look like and what that means. And you're learning
how much
about
paper clips and how toilet paper costs. All of a sudden you're like,
yes, it's a whole
all these
different
weird
thought
things,
process.
Right?
So now you learn that, and then Fifth House Farms comes.
Yeah. So for me, that's the point. Yeah. So what I learned was around 2017 coming into 2018, right? At my other license, we were having all these wildfires happening, and so to be a cannabis farm wanting to grow bud, and I had an outdoor, it's like, oh man, all this smoke is coming down from Canada. It's like I'm outside with a wet towel wrapped around my face, man. It's hot. It's like 100 degrees, and we over here just working, trying to do our best, but there's nothing you can do to save this bud. It's gonna smell smoky. It's gonna be trash. So then a revelation came like, hey, you really need to focus on the carts, because for so long I used to like vape carts. I was so intrigued with them. Like when you talk about ancillary smoking, I was so intrigued with vaping. So I started researching it, 2016, 2017. And in 2018, when we had all these, wildfires, it was like, we're going to blast. No more bud. 97% of the market in 2017, 2018 was flower. 3% was concentrates, and everything else under that sun, where you're talking about brownies, all the edibles, all the carts. And I was like, that little 3%, that's for me. I'm just going to figure it out. Because the good news is smoky bud makes great oil. Trash bud makes great oil. Bud with bugs makes great oil. And so I realized, like, hey, as everyone else is going after flower, I need to start selling carts. And mind you, I had not sold one cart, but I knew in my head in 2018 that it was going to work, because we were struggling. I mean, it was very much a trying effort. It was very humbling. It was very hard. But in 2018 October, we launched our first vape cart iteration. After we blasted, we actually had some really good oil, y'all. I'm talking about like 88% when it was the first true 80s, true numbers. And then people were like, oh, you got some good carts. And before you know it, to date, we've sold 1.2 million carts on market. Like the idea that you can start with just this little something.
But I love this vision in your head that you want to get to 100 million carts, and it's plans that allow for even goals like a 1 million to happen. And it's amazing. I guess one of the things, I come from a family of small businesses or family businesses, and so a family of family-owned businesses is really what I wanted to say. And so my question to you is, as Fifth House becomes more and more successful, as you are in 35% of all dispensaries in Washington, as you are shooting for these 100 million cart goals and these international and national recognition in other states and other countries, building that as a family is not easier. And so what is it like to fucking build this business and know that at Thanksgiving you're looking across from the guy you get to chew the fuck out because it just cost $100,000 mistake or whatever, or just the how do you find yourself positioning that, and how is it to work with family? I've seen the benefits and the negatives, and I just was curious to hear about what made you go that route.
For me, it was a simple route. I have an amazing family.
That helps.
Right now,
yes.
I love my siblings. I'm fortunate to have them. I mean, Fifth House Farms right now on the farm right now. I mean, I got a couple of nephews, extended family. I got my cousin here. I mean, what it comes down to is when you have people you can trust, right? That you can also work well with. It's just a great opportunity. Like, I can't even put it better, because it's like, these are the people you grew up with. These are people you trust. These are people you can be vulnerable with if you need to be vulnerable. These are people who will be strong for you when you need to be weak. But more importantly, these are your people. It's not like you met this person and they're here for a financial gain, which, of course, everyone working together is there to take care of their individual intermediate families. Sure. But what I've learned is when people come together, and it's like, because they just want to be a part of something.
Yeah.
What we're doing at Fifth House is so magical for me, because it's a dream, and now there's people on my farm that dream with me. So as we dream together, it's almost like a collective identity being a part of Fifth House. And so really with family, man, it's been great. And then to your point, I want you to understand something, and this is for everybody listening. If you're arguing during Thanksgiving over business, The wrong person cooked. Okay, listen, I'm trying to tell you right now, ain't no scenario got green or between my brothers, everybody cooked good.
The turkey's
I could
bad.
be upset
That's
with
the
my big
wisest
brother
words I could
and
have
say,
ever.
hey, bro, them cabbage was good, boy.
Yeah. You can't be,
That's
yeah,
it.
you gotta be, you must have, yeah. If you have good food, that offsets a lot of
man.
different situations with the family. One of the things that's interesting, though, Carlondo, is it's great to start that way. We were just, Dustin and I recently were talking about like the Starbucks mission statement, which was one cup of coffee changing one neighborhood at a time, right? That's the Starbucks mission statement, which is great when you're a corner store, ironically, where you're at, or your little corny coffee shop and you're serving up your thing. Not so much, or much harder to maintain those core principles and values when you're now 6,000 stores strong across the country. You don't have any interaction with your customers, Mr. Star or Mr. Bucks. Neither of them have any interactions with any one individual. So I don't know if you've thought about, you've had the success early on in the first several years and you're poised at Fifth House Farms for growth, right? For expansion. How do you, or maybe have you not thought about it? Maybe today maybe we brainstorm today, right now. How do we expand? How do you expand as a family business and still find a way? Because at some point, you're not going to know Gary, the guy who sits next to you in the office. You're not going to know these human beings. At some point, you become big enough and you don't have them. So how do you maintain family values in scale, which I think a lot of family businesses, that's the breaking point. I think at Dustin's point, a lot of them are great when they're small and you're doing it in your kitchen and it is fun. But when you expand and you scale, I mean, there's whole shows, Succession, built on this. Like when family businesses grow, that's when money becomes a thing. That's when the fracture starts. That's when the issue starts. So how do you, or have you thought about how do you scale while still maintaining family values and integrity and those types of things that you built Fifth House Farms on?
It's a great question. It's interesting because probably not going to tell you what you're anticipating. As we scale, it comes so fitting at the right time because, the industry is creating more and more cannabineurs every day. Over the last 5 years, like, let's put this in perspective. I've been in I-502 cannabis recreational since October of 2018. So that's 50 plus months of market, right?
Yeah.
So, to see the industry change has been amazing. So now and also since COVID, to that point, COVID created an opportunity with new companies like Zoom, where now I actually have people that work for Fifth House Farms that aren't even in the country.
Yeah.
It's like, so now it's like for family also, right? I mean, my siblings are amazing, but my siblings are also entrepreneurs to where it's like, I'll work with my brother, and then before you know it, he's telling me that he got this great opportunity he got to go to, and I'm kind of sad. But I'm like, hey, bro, I see it, bro, and there's something for me on the other side. Just like, my sisters, my brother, like I have so much family that people will literally come in and just support and just be here if it works and aligns, and then before you know it, they're off killing it over there. They're off killing it over there, to where it's not like for this point, it's not like Fifth House and what we're doing is the biggest thing in my family. My family is full of amazing people, and we're all charged differently. So it's cool. It's like I got people that are like cultivators that only grow fruits and veggies, and they're over here. And then you got the family over here who are so into martial arts and stuff. So then it's like they're all about self-defense and helping the community protect itself. And so it's crazy because it's like everybody. It's like cannabis can kind of commingle into so many different industries that people could come in, do some cannabis work, and it like turns their opportunity into something bigger.
And a lot of
everybody's a boss around me. That's what's so cool. Is like,
that's awesome.
Like, because to be in cannabis, you have to be willing to come with the stigma that come with it. You have to you have to go with the fact that it is federally illegal. So there's certain things that come with that. Certain businesses don't want to know that you're associated. So when you have relatives that are like, hey, I'm gonna work with you. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, it's crazy. I think now as we grow for Fifth House, it's so cool because we're looking at multiple out-of-state opportunities. But what we learned and what helps us be great as Fifth is that we understand we're only going to take that step when we're truly ready for that opportunity. So we've been building our personnel more, and we've been identifying people that are like-minded in other states. Because it's really important to make sure that before you even spend the first dollar, you already have all the breakdowns and modeling created, and you already have tentative.
Yeah, you know your team.
Wow. Otherwise, you're going to show up like these other guys who come in and say, "Oh, we got a $10 million budget. We'll be all right." And then, you're bleeding by year 2, trying to figure out how you can slice prices. Investors are antsy. It's not what you said. When the fact is, cannabis is a child. It's 8 years old, guys. Like it's a third grader. Is it going to be the president? Is it going to be a brewer?
Yep.
I mean, it could be anything. It can change, and that's what's been so cool is like just allowing us to harp on SOPs.
I think that's a great, honest look at it, though, because I think a lot of people, I sometimes get frustrated. I know everyone's talking about using LinkedIn to go be all like involved in the cannabis industry, but it's a bunch of people talking about how important they are in the cannabis industry. And it feels like they're thinking of it as it's this fully grown business model. And they're like, here's what it is today. Man, I don't know what it is today, because what it was last year or what it was 2 years ago is vastly different. I'm going to steal, by the way, the cannabis year from you going forward, because it grows and evolves. Speaking of growing and evolving, just a side note, when I was doing a little bit of research on Fifth House Farms, I found myself deep into a Reddit thread. It was from 2018, and there was pictures of your product with the very first marketing design. And the question was basically, this cart is too cheap. Is this good? I don't think so. It is back in the early days, right? During the e-juice scare and all that. But I found it funny how I look at you now, this reputable brand, but here you were in 2018, and people are on Reddit saying like, bro, this is too cheap, like too good to be true. Like,
too
quality, replying like, yo, no, this is good shit. You got to try it. Like, these guys are on the up and up. So I thought it was interesting to see where fifthhousefarms.com and your website is. Where you were on the internet in 2018 was these strangers saying your product was too inexpensive to be good. How was that in the beginning? You talk about, and I've read some interviews, how you said, you're selling flower. It was hard. You got into the vape. Getting into the vape industry before it was kind of as big as it is now, it's probably a good almost 15-16% of cannabis sales now, or vapes, let alone concentrates. Flowers down to what, 40s, mid 40s, I think last saw, like 43-44% across the country. Those early days of cartridges compared to where you are now and kind of the evolution. Just curious, as someone who's seen and been involved in cartridges from an early time, right? 2018 is early cartridge days to now, even though it doesn't seem like that long. How is the evolution of cartridges and concentrates in that process for you? Just how has that evolved internally from too cheap to be true to we are a fantastic product, highly reviewed? What's that been like for you?
Man, it's been a ride, because it really just comes down to your core values, right? So the reason why Fifth House got a lot of that flack was because we were cheap, right? But what people didn't realize is we actually were another farm that sold and then came into Fifth. And we went from being like a cart line that now got this farm that's actually growing so much product and has no other partners, right?
Yeah.
But now it's just me. And I was like, hey, we're going to grow this and we're going to blast it. So then I started to learn the true numbers of costs. So before you know it, of course, I slashed my price. We're a single owner. We're going to help the little guy out. Not the little guy, but like the guy like me who would go to the store and might want a good deal. The truth is when you cultivate your own cannabis with the intentions of extracting it, and you do it in large loads, you get really good returns. So when we came on market, a lot of people, it would go online and all that stuff does. But what was so cool is, when Donald Trump issued that vape ban in 2019, the proof was in the pudding. And what that proof in pudding was essentially when we were pushing our cart line, instantly everyone said, hey, are you compliant? Do you have test results? And we were like, oh, well, actually, hold on. We test our cart. So here's our lead samples. We test all of our terpene profiles. And then instantly our sales rocketed. And we took a lot of market share.
How was it for you to get the devices in order to fill? Because even owning my shop, I wasn't allowed to ship batteries. I wasn't allowed to ship a little adapter that could possibly screw on the bat. I had to keep records of every transaction for 5 years.
Yeah, but you're in an illegal state, and he's operating. Was it different? Like Dustin's operating at the time.
There was a nationwide ban on shipping with post office and UPS and FedEx and stuff like that. So that's the thing is like it's that in the state of Washington. Are you supplying? It's just that I don't even know how to say it. It's
Dustin, thank you for your struggles. On behalf of the next
finally someone giving you your due, Dustin.
Because listen, when I tell you my biggest thing was like when Trump put the extra tax on it, where you got
Yes.
it was like the trade embargo or something.
Yes.
Please forgive me if I'm saying the wrong terms, but essentially, I just remember we were sourcing to a magnitude because we realized in 2019 the true opportunity was ancillary.
Mhm.
So then we launched the ancillary business, and it was between 2000 and end of 17, 2018, where I started going back and forth with a Chinese manufacturer trying to create a cart. And we would iterate this for about a year. And then around 2019, we actually launched our own cart in-house that we get manufactured, out of country. And to date, we've done millions of units with this company. And it was really cool because we saw an opportunity where I knew the writing was on the wall that I needed to have full control. I needed to make sure I harped on a product that used high quality. A lot of people in the market were putting out materials that were cheaper variants of metal that had lead.
Yeah, coatings around the wire.
Like I put surgical glass cylinder, surgical steel. Like, so, we started to spend a little bit more, and then we took market share by showing people we can give you something of high quality for a cheaper price. And that was just a really cool thing because people started to learn and educate themselves. Like, no, I like this because I like it. And then if you want to go buy a more expensive one on the cart and buy a more expensive cart from the shelf at whatever retailer you choose and buy our cart. If you want to compare it. And I think that's what a lot of people started to do. And it was just really cool because we've never relied on marketing. Hence that post in 2018. No one knew us. We just put our first website up like a year ago, guys. It's like we were really just farming pot, dropping it off in cart form at the dispensaries, not thinking about all this other marketing, because being in this industry for so long, you got to remember, guys, like Washington State, we're very strict. Can't put certain colors on your packaging. They just changed those rules. Can't have it too cartoony because it appeals to kids. There were so many rules and restrictions that over the time, we never wanted to market. We were just like, let it speak for itself.
Yeah. Word of mouth is cheaper and you can't take it away from them. So
ask yourself this. Most of these marketing companies, right, charge farms like us 15, 20 grand a month to do all these services, right? Whether you want these third-party platforms to amplify you, right? When we're like, yo, we're just not going to do that. We're just going to give them a deal.
Yes.
That's solid cheap.
Yep. And exactly. And you know what? The dispensary agents are the ones who are doing a lot of the marketing for you. It's like befriending the guy behind the counter as the brand actually is sometimes better than spending 10 G's a month on marketing. He sees everybody. When they ask, do you have a recommendation? You're the first one he pulls off. Hey, in that range, in this hit, and so I just think it's a really smart way of thinking. Where do you see technology and innovation coming in vapes coming forward or going forward? What is the new that you think that you're like, I'm fucking in on this?
All right. We'll talk about the right now. The new, we'll talk about that when I have it coming out, because I'm not telling no one.
Fair enough.
Absolutely.
But hey, guys, right now,
I feel like sometimes though, the right now, especially for Dustin and I living here in like Central Ohio, like it's kind of like fashion. Like sometimes it takes a little bit to get here. Like you've had nebulizers for a while and we're still catching up to that. So give us like the right now West Coast, and then that'll be right now here in a few months. And then maybe a sneak peek, maybe like a few syllables of the coming soon, because we all love new shit.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the right now, and then we'll
talk. We'll figure it out later. Yeah.
Hey, Gary, he's at the gate.
Oh yeah. By the way, Gary is the real goat today. Yes.
Gary's
we're thinking about family and business. The fact that Gary's been with you from the beginning and isn't even family, but is family. I don't know. It just shows the way you work with your employees and with
There's Gary. What's up, Gary? Gary, even before you guys know, Gary took care of the lighting. He should get extra fee for that, by the way. He's a union member now. He's working lighting services in the background, like film crews.
Hey guys,
he's got it going on.
Hey guys.
No. Let him talk.
Gary's like, hold on. Let me give you some praise. Hey, it's what it takes, though, right? It takes a lot of great people, and fucking Gary's awesome. You're awesome, Gary.
Hey, man.
You're awesome.
I like that. It was nice meeting you, fellas. We got another appointment I got to go help out, but.
All right. There's always business happening.
Central Ohio live.
Keep it Ohio Live, Fifth House Farms. All right, let's talk the right now coolness.
Okay, so right now, so what we're learning, because technology is coming so far that that, you know, the big new debates are, you know, cured resin versus live resin, right?
Yes.
Because there's so many farmers we know,
So
we
much.
would top, like, you know, if you wanted more terpene, you know, you might cut down your plant a week early, right? Because you want the more pronounced terpenes. But if you want a little bit more potent, you might take it down a week late, right? Because you want a little bit more amber, right? So now people are starting to take that, and what's so cool in the industry is, you know, with the new technology, farms are actually able to get more from their product. Like
Yes.
if you look at the products that we've been blasting over the years, and you're like, oh wow, this sugar, this is what you've been blasting for distillate, or this is what you've been blasting for BHO dab, and you start realizing, like, hold on, live resin, cured live resin, or cured batter butters, you know, for carts are better. Or you start learning about, you know, like the rosin mix, and you start thinking about these cocktails. Like I think cannabis cocktail carts are going to be the thing, because you're already
Yes.
starting to see people start to merge things and blends happen. And I just think as a cultivator, it's so cool because when you got into this, when I got into this, you just fall in love with the plant, right? And so it's like this one versus that, this strain versus that, this potency, this aroma. And so now as you're starting to come together and make these like cannabis cocktails, I'm really looking forward to see how it starts to act like
I
when
think it's
like,
definitely
you know, like alcohol, like when you start, how it starts to act like alcohol when you start to put together these different medleys.
Yeah, quick shout out, by the way, budlove.com. Bud Love Premium Herbal Mixers. Enter code Wayward15. Save, we'll give a shout out, Budlove15 at that. Question for you.
Bud Love.
Shout out for Bud Love. We got huge love for Bud Love. It's an herbal mixer, but it's exactly, they're a company, by the way, if you're not familiar with them, Carlondo, exactly what you're talking about. They're taking marshmallow leaf and CBG and terpenes and infusing it in flavor profiles designed to put it in your flower to give it a new spin on what the flower exists.
That's
right?
awesome.
Check them out, budlove.com. But you are on that nose, right? The craftiness of it, right? Cannabis has so long survived on strain names and this stuff, and it's going to be about creating, like I just had a fancy restaurant and there was like all these different words for basically what was a gin and tonic, which is a little bit of bitters, a little bit of this. But I think that crafting of very precise flavor profiles in a very fancy way is going to be part of our future, right? Part of our future as we're getting
part
going.
of our past. So why
Jeff?
wouldn't we? I mean, the future is predicated by the past, right?
We do got to let Carlondo go in a little bit. We got a quick time, but I cannot let you go, Carlondo, without kind of checking in on something that I think is really important to you. And we kind of talked about at the beginning. And I think doing these interviews, and I saw, by the way, that you're going to be visiting a few cannabis conferences, being a speaker. You know, you are a very large, very successful minority-owned farm, which is a very small percentage of what exists in the industry. And we have a lot of guests on. We've talked a lot about social equity with some amazing people through this program. Shout out Dr. Bridget Williams, Brian Adams, and some of the great folks we've had on to talk about how we increase, how we develop more ownership that's better representative of the consumers in the industry. So just as we kind of wrap up here, do you like, or how has it been kind of putting your face forward now? You've survived so long. Fifth House Farms, fifthhousefarms.com has survived so long on product, maybe cheap price in the beginning, but good product, like on the brand and this cartridge is white labeling. But now you, and specifically you, Carlondo, and I know you got a lot of family there, have been doing speaking conferences and talking about equity and talking about being a minority owner. Just talk a little bit about being a face of an ongoing, very important movement in this industry, and a little bit about just social equity in this industry, because I think it's something we can't talk about enough.
Well, it should be simple. You know, I aim to be the change I want to see. So, you know, I came in this industry, I was really by myself, and I was fortunate that there were a handful of true stoners who weren't capitalist minded people and just cared about the plant and cared about, I'm talking about true tree huggers in Washington, man. Those are the guys who really kind of pushed me forward. So I came in this not thinking much bigger than just community, right? And then as things have pushed legal, you know, you don't see the community aspect anymore. You see it parceled down between taxation and traceability. And now all these marketing, so now everyone's competitors. So for me, it's been so cool to just go around the country and learn what people are doing. Because for me, I realize my life's work now is the time I've spent in cannabis, and I can contribute to a conversation. And what's so cool about that conversation is it's ever changing. Because, like, remember what we talked about, guys, the cannabis year goes by so quick. But now when you see these new bills come up and you start to see community engagement from the government level, and you start to see these new communities, stakeholders stand up in their prospective communities, it's amazing, because you're like, wow, This was not here 5 years ago, but it will be here 5 years later. So now the question is, what's going to happen in those 5 years? And you know, guys, I'll leave you with this because I want you to know this. Cannabis is no different than alcohol. So if you go back 100 years ago when it was first legalized, everyone was talking about moonshine, guys. People weren't really talking about anything, right? We were talking about moonshine and just shutting down the speakeasies and the name attacks. Fast forward, I mean, you can't do an operation in a hospital without alcohol. You know, fast forward, you can't walk into a bar without looking at a variety of options, whether it's vodka, rum, etc. So I think what's so cool with cannabis is we're going to learn that this live active cannabinoid plant has so much more to offer. And so over these years and years to come, I look forward to seeing that in the name of social equity alongside the name of cannabis, because we all know what it does for people who suffer from multiple sclerosis. And I rest my case on that.
There is not much more that needs to be said. Carlondo Mitchell, Fifth House Farms.
Thank you, Carlondo.
Farms.com. Check him out on Instagram, Fifth House Farms, at Fifth House Farms.
Yes.
Really, really appreciate you being here today. We are so excited. I don't know if we'll ever get out to Washington, but if so, we're buying. Hopefully, you got to get some Fifth House Farms in Michigan.
Come on up.
Get up
Come
there
have
and
a
get
tour.
It.
We're coming.
Would love to check it out. Thank you, Carlondo Mitchell, for joining us today.
Thank you.
FifthHouseFarms.com. You've been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
You're amazing.
All right, we had to cut him off. We got to get Carlondo out of here. Dustin, we're going to go today as well. Don't forget Plant Save My Life podcast. Also, check out budlove.com. Enter code Wayward15 at budlove.com to save 15%. Dustin, as always, wonderful to see you, and I will see you next week, sir. Take care.
FifthHouseFarms.com.